chair of the program committee of the New York City chapter of TTN, and it's so nice to be able to stay connected through virtual events. This virtual presentation is in webinar format, meaning it's listen and watch only. You, our viewers, won't be seen or heard, and I ask that you please not change the settings on your mute button or do not show your video button. We have many women who have registered for this event, and we would like our guest speaker to have the screen all to herself. Our guest speaker today, Nancy Deutsch, will speak to us about decluttering. Then she will answer some questions. We encourage you to ask questions or share comments by using the chat function. Depending upon your device, it's either at the bottom or top of your screen, or it may be located in a function that says more. Please post your questions to everyone in the chat function, and at the end of the presentation, your questions will be read out loud. So Nancy Deutsch began organizing when she readied her parents' 2 homes for sale. She sorted, cried, cleaned, giving what was no longer to be part of her life, and donated and sold the items that had value. She learned, tackled, and overcame the resistances that the memories unearthed, along with the reality of imposed change. Then friends asked her to help them, and the Empathic Organizer was born. Nancy works gently with her clients to find their way to build the confidence they need to transform their inner and outer space. She gets it done with you and for you. Nancy is a member of NAPO, the National Association of Productivity and Organizing. So welcome, Nancy, and thank you for making this presentation. I will disappear and I will give the podium, so to speak, the microphone to Nancy. So it's all yours, Nancy. Thanks.
Thank you. Welcome to this TTN session on decluttering. Our mission today is to provide you with ideas on where and how to start and more. Remember, this is being recorded, so relax. No need to take notes, and I promise there will be no quiz. An introduction to the decluttering process for you when you're ready to start on your own personal dig. So let's begin our journey together. As you can see, the first slide says, Freedom, your journey to a safe and cluttered place to live and love. I don't know if you all can see that. I wanted to start with why I love what I do, because I think that with any job that we do, if we love it, it makes it a lot better for everyone. So first off, just to give you an idea, I get a great deal of satisfaction in my role as coach, pupil, cheerleader, blogger. And when I see happiness in my clients as they reach their goals, one of the things I hear all the time, and I bet you have said it yourself, is, oh, I was looking for that. The other thing when I work is to do it with you. It's a team effort, and that builds freedom, calm, clarity, relief, and confidence, as many of my clients have told me. Discovery is another issue which we love, when home transforms into a safe, happy place, free of guilt and shame. And then the last thing to think about is the opportunity for you to build space for the things that count. So first off, discovery. Give yourself credit. You're here. You're not alone. That's progress. And also remember, we all have trouble letting go. One of the things to think about during this session is, what is stopping you if there is something stopping you? Fighting resistances is very hard. And the last thing that's very important really on this page is decluttering is a process. So think of it as a meal where you have to you don't need everything on your plate at once. You take, like you start with a meat, or you might start with one veggie or another. You check it out and you determine what you're going to eat first. We don't eat the whole plate in one bite. Some things to keep in mind that I think will help you feel a little more comfortable, because everyone goes through this. We all spend about 1 year of our life looking for lost or misplaced items. America has 3% of the world's children, and yet we own 40% of the world's toys. Of the 2-car garages in America, 25% of those garages can't use both spaces. and 32% can only use one space. So that gives you some idea that we all have this problem of letting go. And really think about it, all you need is less. I tell my clients, and they really agree, that decluttering is a journey. It is for all of us an archaeological dig where you will uncover, discover, recover treasures, memories, junk, and gain some freedom. I can repeat that again, all you need is less. So let's begin the process. Think of your goals as a puzzle. I love puzzles, and that's why I put this in. You solve it a piece at a time, a clue at a time. Another thing to remember about decluttering is it really is about deferred decisions. And what does that mean to you? Think about this as we journey. Okay, get ready, your tools. Some of the tools to have when you get going is contacts, including resources that will take your stuff so others might use and enjoy them. Boxes, garbage bags, bins, hangers, labels, clips, file folders. Those are all ways in which you can start to take control over the stuff you have. For closets, garment bags, shoe boxes, kitchen, utensil holders. Keep in mind also something which I'm going to repeat over and over again. Remember to keep in mind, you have to give yourself rewards for when you get to decluttering. Okay. What causes these things? Why do we get to a point where we have to declutter? As you all know, because we've all lived it, life sometimes throws us curveballs. No judgment here, just ideas on how to move ahead. Some of these transitions, and you're in the transition network, are marriage, divorce, births, job changes, loss, search, retirement. All of these are huge transitions in our lives that we have to deal with. Change of venue. Are you moving, downsizing? Are you now suffering from the empty nest syndrome and you don't know what to do with all the stuff that's been left behind by the people you love, your family? And sometimes it's family duties. Illness, and in illness I include age, because as we age, we sometimes forget where things are. We try to organize ourselves a little better so that way we can really understand how we can cope with this. Death, disaster, and plague, and of course, we all have lived through this pandemic. And what else is important? What's your happiness quotient? What do you want for yourself? Now, the next thing to think about when you start this process, what's in your space? What is it that you can uncover, discover, recover? Some of the things that I have worked with clients is we found cash. One of my clients actually had Social Security checks and refunds, tax refunds, that she had never bothered to open. It was in a pile under her chair. And what we found when we looked at those envelopes and went through them was $77,000 in refunds and other cash that she would have in her pocket. So it more than paid for itself just to have somebody be there with her to go through all this, because that's what we uncovered. Family photos, they may be in all kinds of places in your closets that you never look at, and now you have to for whatever reasons, or you want to. Clothing, all kinds of clothing. Another thing I keep saying, oh, I didn't know I had that. Oh, I was looking for that. Jewelry, antiques, books. And sometimes if it's been a while, in some places we uncover bugs, pests, and dust. But the thing that's the most important that we get out of decluttering, and you will get out of decluttering, is space. I like to break down decluttering in 3 areas. The first is stuff. That can include all kinds of things: paper, clothes, books, you can name it. Data. Now that could be a file, a bunch of files, or filing cabinet, computer contents, your phone contents, and storage. That could be closets, your storage rooms, garages, and attics. The third category is time and time management. Sometimes we get started on things and we just don't know where the time went. So one of the areas that is important to organize for yourself is your time, your day, and how to prioritize and schedule that day. One of the quotes that I put here, because sometimes we don't think about this, is one from Finn Murphy, who I found it and I loved it, because even if you can't bring yourself to get rid of stuff, your heirs will have no qualms at all. So if you're saving things for your family and you really haven't discussed it, and what to keep, what not to keep, what is important to you and that they may want, or what is important to them, you need to do that, because otherwise you're holding on to things that really nobody knows. And I know I found it, and it made me very sad, that when I went through my mother's things, when I had to go through the two buildings, the apartment and the house, there were a lot of family pictures, and I had no idea who these people were. A lot of bearded people sitting very seriously, as they did in those days in the 1800s and 1890s. And I had no idea who these were, because my mother never shared that with me. I asked, but she said, oh, it's nothing. And I never saw that they were even there until after she passed away. Knowing your stuff can help you reduce it. And I think if you think of your stuff through these three categories, or four really, you'll have some idea of where to begin. Stuff can be friends. Think of them as friends. Those are the things you protect. Other stuff is strangers. It's kind of, come and go. You can set these aside. Maybe you're not sure you're ready to let go of that, but they're not really your friends. They're not the important things to you. And then there are acquaintances. There may be no real consequences to letting those items go, because they really don't mean that much to you. When you look at them again, you say, I don't need that anymore. Another important category is urgent versus important. Certain things have to be paid on time, otherwise you pay penalties. Those would be bills. There may be an impending visit, and maybe somebody's coming to your apartment or your home, and you want it to look its best, and you have to take care of stuff that's around. And other issues too that get in the way of your doing what you need to do to have your place and your space look the best it can be. Health issues. And you can think of some other categories as well that might be part of that urgent versus important. Now, the process. What I did is break down how to do this and think about it and how to approach it through 7 principles. The first one, and I bet a lot of you've heard this already, is the 80-20 rule. I don't know if you realize this, but they've done studies, and we found that only 20% of what we have we use. 80% stays right where you put it months ago. If you look at your closet and you look at the clothes that you wear all the time, I know I have my friends in the closet, and the other stuff, I'm not going to wear it, or I haven't worn it. I haven't worn it for a month, 2 months. I just switched over for summer clothes, and I looked at my winter clothes and I said, well, yeah, it's been the pandemic, but I haven't worn a lot of this sort of corporate looking clothing that I have, and I probably will never use it again because we've become so casual. So maybe that's time to give it away to somebody, like business suits for women, business clothes for women. So I can give that away. It's still in very good shape, and someone can go on an interview and get a job because I was willing to let go of that suit. Consider each item's usefulness to you. What do you wear regularly and how often? About 20% of your clothes are in heavy rotation, meaning you use them all the time. What about the rest of them? And think about clothing in another way. Is it comfortable? Have you grown out of it, or is it too big or too small? Do you like the colors anymore? Do you wear it except, oh yeah, you wore it for that wedding, and now you probably will have another wedding, but maybe it'll be in a year, and you want to wear something else? Do they fit you? And what do you want to retain for memory's sake? I have a client who does retain few of her father's shirts, and we both agreed that that's what she's going to do for the present, because she just can't let go of it. Those are her father's shirts and she loved them and she loved him. Second principle, like with like. Try to group or categorize what you have. Okay, put all the shoes that are casual shoes on one side of your closet and group them that way. Dress shoes on another. So when you go in and you're in a hurry, you know exactly where they are and they have a home because they're together, because they're like with like. Same with kitchen utensils. Put all the things that are similar. I have, we all have like little places to put them. And so like all your cooking utensils, like spatulas, scrapers, all in one place. Do the same with pans. Put your frying pans together, put your saucepans together. So you have an idea of where it is. You don't have to go looking for that saucepan and rooting around in the back of a closet somewhere or the back of a cabinet. Principle 3. This is very important, and it really is a discipline that you can work on. We all can work on. When you touch something, do something productive with it. Don't put it back on the pile. It's easy to do, and I use a lot of times. I tell my clients, and they are so happy because they forgot this principle, which is when something comes in like mail, just don't put it on a pile. You've touched it already. Open it up, deal with it. If you have to file it, file it. If you have to write a check, do it. But make it move and make it move productively so you don't have to address it again and do it again. And I gave an example here, which I think we can all understand, that any good waiter must be organized to bring out what matters to the customer. So he's not going to come out first with glasses and then with a place setting and then with the salt and then with the mustard. He knows how to put it, or she knows how to put it together so they don't make 10 trips to get to your table to get you what you need. Principle 4, make sure you have a home for each item. You will know where to find it, which is very important. So you need to have everything where they are together and they have a place. And one of the things that I find with clients all the time is they don't know where the item is because it hasn't got a home in their place. So like on your desk, set up a home for your pencils, for your pens, tape, that's in one place, your printers in another place, and try to take the things that you use all the time and keep them in one place. The stuff that you're never using or very rarely use, put it away somewhere so your desk is uncluttered. And the same could be said for mail that comes in. Take care of it, give it a home where you have like to-do lists, or this has to be filed now, and do it. Because otherwise what happens is we end up always looking for things because it has no home. If we know it has a home, just like our cats and our dogs, then we can find them. Principle 5. This is very important because we're all different. We all have a different way of approaching things. And one of the things I've noticed as I've been working as an organizer is everybody has a different kind of style as to how they work when we work together and when they work on their own. Some people are very quick, and I call them sprinters. They want to get this done, that one done, and they want to do it fast. Others are more relaxed about it. They're joggers. So you have to think about how you approach the task you're doing, whatever it is in your house or your apartment or your garage, wherever. Are you comfortable with speed and you want to get things done quickly? Or do you like sort of taking it easier and seeing how it goes and how much you can accomplish and just let it be? Also, we have styles in terms of how we like our homes to look. Are you an innie or an outie? By that I mean, do you like to see everything out there in front of you that you use all the time? Or are you somebody who likes to sort of put it away in a closet or a cabinet because you don't like seeing it all the time, but you know in that cabinet is, for example, your paper supplies for your printer. So you have to figure out while you're doing this, really, what gives you pleasure in terms of the stuff that you have? So do you want it in a file, or you want it in a storage room if there are things that you never use? I mean, some of us have bikes in our apartments, but a lot of times people put bikes in the bike room because they just don't want it around, but they know it's there, and hopefully in a house that's secure, it will be there when they go to ride out. So another thing to think about as you're organizing is kind of think of I take a desk. What are your spheres of influence? What do you use most on your desk? And do you use it hourly? Do you use it daily? Is it something you only look at once a month, like, I don't know, a particular magazine? How do you use that? And one of the ways we do this is if you keep a diary and observe yourself at how you work. If it's kitchen or it's a desk, wherever it is, do you are there things that you really want to have within arm's reach? Are there things that can be in the same room that are out in the open and you know where they are and you're going to go get them? Or is it inside a container of some kind, or a closet or a cabinet? And what makes you most comfortable that you know you'll be able to find it when you're looking for it? And then, do you have an off-site storage unit or a closet? Do you leave some stuff with a friend because you don't have the space? Think about all of the stuff that you have and where it is in your house or apartment. Principle 6. Now, this is a hard one, and it's not always easy to follow, but it is the 1 in, 1 out rule. And the idea here is to commit that you are really going to follow this rule as best you can. Some of us are shopaholics. So when something new comes in, it just adds to the pile. How many t-shirts do you need? What do you need to do with them if you have too many? So when something new comes in, think about, and it's not an easy one, I know that because I'm guilty of it as well. Think of it that maybe when this new thing comes in, something else in your area, in your apartment, in your home goes out. And it's not an easy one, but it is a good idea to think about it. And I say it's a rule and it's hard to follow, but if you think about it, at least it's in your mind, and maybe that way you can cope with it a little better, this idea of 1 in, 1 out. Be prepared in this 1 in, 1 out to sort what you have, to file it or put it in a category where you know what it is, and also to think about tossing it, because sometimes it's just better to let it go. And there are many ways to let it go, which we'll get to. So when you bring something in, that means something in your space must go out. And as I said, we have to be flexible because there are things that really matter to us. It makes it hard for us to let go. And another idea I have about a lot of things that we have is, if you love it, you like it, you want to remember, take a photo and set up an album for things that you love, that you're ready to let go, and you have it in your phone or in your computer. It's still there, but you don't have to have the physical being of it still there. And that can make you go back and look at it and you can feel good, and it's gone. It's not taking up space. Principle 7, this is the last one. And it's important because letting go and decluttering is hard. It's really hard. And one of the things we forget from time to time is that once we've done a task, and it's a hard one, reward yourself. It's hard work to do this. And you've done a lot of things like decision making and figuring out how the process is working for you and monitoring it. So if you can give yourself a reward, it could be some great ice cream, it could be a trip, it could be dinner with a friend, something that you enjoy and you love that you can give yourself for doing the work you did to declutter. And think about which ideas you love, and then put them down on a list, and you could tick off some of the things. It's kind of like a declutter bucket list. These are the things that I can reward myself with, and then relax and enjoy the results of your work. So now you're ready. How to start? What are your options? One of the things about decluttering is that we all run into resistance. So it's a good idea, if you can do this, is to start small. Start with maybe a 15-minute session once or twice a week. Take a small section of an area you want to clear. And remember, it's a process, and letting go is difficult. The other thing to think about, and you can expand that to 30 minutes, and you can expand it to 3 days a week if you have to get a place emptied out. Don't rush it. Work slowly, deliberately, but at your own pace, and you're in your own space, so you can feel good about your decisions. Don't ever push. Don't overdo. And if you have trouble, then it's time for you to get some help, and then you can have somebody sort of nudge you along. I call it nudging, because it's kind of like when I work with somebody, it may take a month or 2 months to get that person to let go. I was thinking one client who had maybe 10 winter coats, some of which she hadn't worn in I don't know how many years. I mean, I know her for a long time. And I talked about getting rid of the winter coats in April. I said, well, we're changing seasons. How do you feel about getting rid of some coats? Not yet. And then I came back to work with her about 3 weeks later. And I said, what do you want to work on today? And she said, my coats. I want to get rid of them. And she got rid of half her coats. They went off to donation. Some of them were kind of really shabby, so they went out just to the trash. But it took time, so give yourself that time. So that's what I mean by don't push and don't overdo. Some of the options is I think we all know, is disposal. And in that way, rethinking where we have something, recycling it. And that can be a lot of different ways. It could be to friends. If there's something you like and they really have admired it, it's one of the ways you can say to somebody, would you like, I'm thinking about getting rid of this dress, but perhaps you would like it. So that's one of the ways of disposing. And then there's always shredding, and there are several companies that can do that for you, so you have secure ways of getting rid of papers, for example, and old tax returns. And if you have a shredder in the house, that's a wonderful thing to have, because that makes it easy for you to get rid of things. Another way is to gift and regift. And I'm careful when I say regift, because one of the things we don't want to do is to give away something that we didn't like, because probably somebody else might not like it either. So you have to think about the regifting part. Also, you can donate, and there's so many places to go. Goodwill, Housing Works in the city here, Vietnam Veterans of America, AmVets also has recycling for all kinds of things, clothing, kitchen utensils, even furniture. So, and the way to find out about that very easily is to Google. I go there all the time to find sources and resources for recycling and donating, because a lot of people, especially in these times of hardness in terms of the pandemic, are not as fortunate as many of us are, and they need some help in terms of stuff for their homes. So this is a good time to donate. And a lot of places are beginning now to pick up your stuff. You don't always have to deliver it to them. So those, and you can find out again right on Google. Just Google the charity and see whether they will pick it up. A lot of them are starting to do that again. And the other area is storage. If you're not sure and you can't quite let go of something, I call it partway gone. You can put it in storage and think about it. And when you get back to the storage area, you can say, okay, I think I'm ready to let that go. And so you can do that in your home, in the back of a closet, or you can do it in a real storage facility. Important items to retain as you start to declutter. I mean, people tend to say, okay, I'm going to get rid of this, I'm going to get rid of that. Please be careful. There are vital records that you're going to need, and you know most of them yourselves: birth certificate, passports, licenses, even patents. Some of my clients have been creative and come up with certain kinds of different inventions. So something to think about to make sure that you don't throw that away. Also legal records, which include wills, healthcare proxies, financial information, all kinds of things like that. Please contact your lawyer and accountant to find out how long you need to keep tax returns and receipts and all of that kind of stuff. Don't just throw it out. Be careful and think about it, and go to the resource that can help you and guide you in what you must keep and what you can let go. And there's another area that's important too, which is projects that are dear to you that you are working on. Are you working on a book? Are you working on a video that you want to share with your family? Those things are very important to keep safe. You don't just inadvertently toss things and, oh my God, I worked on that thing and it's gone. So please think about that too. Now, this is a helpful guide for all of us. How much is too much? If you have items in your house that you use and love, those are things you keep. If you have items in your house that you use, but they're not that important to you, what I suggest you do is discuss, and it could be with you yourself, it could be with family, it could be with friends. Discuss and think about it. Consider it. Do I really need this? How often do I use it? I use it, but I really don't like it. I like to get something else. I was thinking of a vegetable peeler. How many do you need? I mean, I have some that I've let go that my mother had, the old metal ones, and it was hard for me to let go, but the new peelers are so much better. And that's something to just, I'm ready to let that go, and I did. If you love it and don't use it, another area to think about and discuss. If it's been sitting, as we've talked about before, and you're not using it, and you haven't used it in months, years, even weeks, it's not going to be used. And the usual idea, oh my God, well, I might need it. Pretty much everything we have, we can get and replace somewhere online. I mean, if it's from eBay or Etsy or any place, we can replace most everything. So if it's something that you love but you don't use, maybe it's time to let it go. And maybe at some point you get another one, a replacement that's probably better. And if you don't use it and you don't love it, out. That's a no-brainer. It really is, because even again, if you said, well, I haven't used it and I don't love it, but oh, I don't know, I might need that tennis racket that I haven't played tennis in 30 years. Let it go. It's time. And donate it. Maybe somebody else can use an old tennis racket. Some people like old things and collect them, but not you. So pretty much everything I've covered. First of all, you don't have to do this alone. It's very, very hard to let go. And help is out there in the person of professional organizers, people who can come in and just be there with calmness and no judgment, because a lot of people are afraid, oh, people are going to sit in judgment. No, we're here to help. Thing to remember, we're all attached to certain things. It's human nature. I think we've been doing it since we were in caves. Another thing to remember, we are capable of making decisions. And as I've said, clutter is a deferred decision. So we have to remember, we can make that decision. We do it constantly. I mean, what time am I going to get up, especially if we're retired? What time am I going to meet that friend? When am I going to the gym? When am I going to the movies? What do I want to see? We're constantly deciding every day of our lives. So remember, it's just another decision-making process, decluttering. Also, forgive. We look around and we say, oh my God, this is awful, it's terrible. No, please, we can forgive ourselves. And if there are others who you're trying to help in the declutter process, remember to forgive them too, because they're not always able to be in control of the stuff that they have around. And if we're judgmental, it only makes the guilt worse and the resistance worse. So give us all a break. And also remember, it is hard to do on your own. I find that people sometimes, including myself sometimes, when we're really engaged in something and where we want to get something done, we forget to breathe. So I always suggest breathe. It does help when you're doing this kind of thing. Fight feelings of shame and guilt because they're counterproductive. So forgive, please forgive. And you can do this. It is not as hard as it seems. What gets in the way a lot of time is resistance. Oh, well, I don't want to do that now. I don't, it's too expensive. And think again about some of the things you have in your home that you might be able to resell. I have a Mexican silver tea service that was my mother's because she, I don't think she ever had anybody to tea, but she felt good about having a tea service and tea cart. So I had to let that go. And it turns out that this tea service, which I thought was worth nothing, it's sterling silver, but I thought it wasn't worth very much, $4,800. So there are things in your house that can help pay for whatever you decide to do. You can do this. You can do this. And just remember, I call myself the Empathic Organizer because I really get what it's like to let go. I think that everything, as I said before, is teamwork. I can't possibly tell you what to let go of, or your friend, or you can't. That's something they have to come to terms with and do. So what this way I work is to develop a plan and strategies to address the clutter that's there because of deferred decisions, life changes, life itself, surprises, disruptions, and more. I think some of my clients have called me the stuff whisperer, the space whisperer. I think because they get that I understand the challenges we face when we declutter. My passion and vocation, and this is a second or a third career, has come about because I love what I do. And I think people who work with me get the idea that I can make a dreaded task into a journey, an archaeological dig where we find all kinds of things. And it makes us feel good. And sometimes we take photos of it and then we can let it go. Sometimes we want to put it in an album so that the kids and grandkids can see it. It's a time to uncover, discover, recover. And I leave you with my own sort of, I don't know what you call it, but it's Ode to Shakespeare, Romeo and Juliet. Starting can be such sweet sorrow. yet we can meet upon the morrow. And I wish you all good luck. I wish you success in making your space yours. And I'm here if you need anything, if you want to talk, you want to figure it out, you want to work, I would love to do it because this is my passion. And thank you all for being here today to pick up a little bit about what decluttering is about. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. That was really great. And you touched upon a lot of areas that, or not a lot of obstacles that prevent us from actually starting. You know, so many of us feel overwhelmed when we think about doing this, but you've broken it down and made it really good. Again, for everybody who's on, I apologize that the incorrect link was sent out. But if you're on this Zoom, you obviously got the right link and have been listening. If you missed part of it, we are recording it. So you will, hopefully by next week or the week after, get a link for the YouTube recording of this. So you will be able to go back and listen to it again in its entirety. And so now I will get to a number of questions we have in the chat. Let's see. Okay, so, okay. A number of people have been asking about photos. Do you throw out the photos that you mentioned, people that you didn't know? What do you do with family photos? You know, how do you keep them and protect them, et cetera, et cetera?
Okay. I have a few clients that have old photos of their families and their grandparents and their great-grandparents. And if they know who they are, that is great. And that's an option that most people have to make themselves, that choice, which is, do I take pictures of these photos and then put them into my computer, an album for my family photos, and then the children have them? Because I think a lot of young people, yeah, it's nice to touch an old stiff photo, you know, that's on a cardboard background, but maybe that's not really where they're at. And yes, we want to have some sense of ancestry. As we know, Ancestry.com has done remarkably well, but it's really a personal choice. I find now that what I do is take a picture of the picture, and that way I have it in my phone, and then I can send it to my computer, and I have an album for my family photos. If you're going to keep them, there are certain albums that you have to be aware of can break down family photos because the plastic is not good for it and it's bad. So you have to, one of the ways I do it is go online and see which albums can be photographically safe for special photos. And that would, then they would go into that album, and then that's the way it would be. I also ask family. I mean, I'm an only child, but I have cousins, and I say to them, is this a photo from great grandma Ann you want or not? And then they can say to me, yes. Oh yeah, please take a picture of it and send it to me. And then if they're not interested in having the original, it's time to let it go for me. I mean, that's a personal decision, but that's what I would do.
Great. Oh, and something just came in. I'm sorry, something else about photos, but I lost it. So we may circle back in the chat. So someone asked, what do you do with new things? This woman buys new things and she puts it in a safe place, but then she can't remember where the safe place was, so she loses it. So how do you deal with that kind of cycle?
Okay, when something new comes in, here's where I talked about having a home for something. Here's a perfect example of creating a home for that new thing that came in. If it's a shirt, for example, a t-shirt, where do you keep your t-shirts? Do you have a dresser drawer that has the summer t-shirts in it? Do you hang them on a hanger, and that way it's in a closet where you can see it and you know where it is? It's, again, working with somebody, you find out where they're most comfortable. Is it something you want to see that's in a closet, when you open the closet door, or a shelf, you see it, or is it in a drawer? Those are the kinds of things that, if you're bringing something new in, first thing, find a home for it and tell yourself, this is where it's going. It's going in my second drawer, because that's where I have all my t-shirts, and that's where it goes.
Okay, great. Okay, so back to the old photos and things.
Mhm.
What about donating old documents and photos and objects to museums? Is there any interest in
It
any of
depends.
that?
I mean, some of the Jewish Museum might be interested in certain old photos of immigrants who've come in from the old world. Wow, that's an old term. It depends. What I suggest you do is to take pictures of what you have, and then send them, find out who in the museum or the gallery might be interested in them, and send them a few samples of what you have and see what the response is. A lot of times, I mean, I've been trying to give Columbia Law School my father's papers, and they say, okay, we'll take them, but you have to have a complete list of everything there. And I haven't had time to do that. So some places say, I don't want to touch it until I know everything. You have to give me the complete list or a complete identification of everything there. It really depends on the institution. And the best way is to call and ask, because that they know what they want, and they know that's what's important.
Great. So a couple of our attendees were making suggestions. Someone said Dress for Success is a great place to donate
Right.
work clothing. That's in New York.
Yes.
Someone else said they've used Facebook to give new life to things. There is a free page for people in the neighborhood.
Mhm.
Someone else wrote
Nextdoor is a good one too in New York.
Nextdoor.
Yeah,
Okay.
Nextdoor is a good one. And
Another
also
person.
the local newspapers like West Side Patch, West Side Rag, some of them you can contact them and say, I have something that might be of interest. And Facebook is great. And then trying to think what else at this point. There are other sites, and also Google, because a lot of these places can tell you where to go for donating clothes or recycling or whatever.
Someone else suggested Give Back Box program. Okay. What about books that you would like to sell, but it's too much trouble to catalog them? Are the people who will share this chore by selling online for you? Or what do you do with books? Because I think it could go in lots of different categories: sell, dispose, donate, etc.
Again, books are a very interesting segment. Some institutions and museums might want an old book, others might not. It really depends on what the book is about. And one thing, again, and I keep saying it, there's a place called A Books, and they have a listing of very special books. They will buy them. It depends on how good condition it is. Again, taking a picture of it, having somebody at A Books, for example, see it and then say to you, oh yeah, we're interested, we'll buy it for $20 or $30 or $5. Those are the kinds of places to go to see whether the books are worth anything, whether there's any interest. And it really, most books I think are not worth very much anymore, because people are doing everything online. Only the collectors, and we don't know who all of them are, would be interested in a collection of books. And maybe some of the auction galleries like Swan and Doyle and places like that might be interested in certain books that are like first editions and rare.
Great. Someone asked, please give us your email. If you look at the current slide on the PowerPoint,
Yes.
it's up there at the bottom of the page. So take a look at that. Another person asked, how do you motivate a husband who has trouble letting go of things?
Sorry,
that goes into the marital counseling category.
No, it's actually quite personal, because I have a wonderful husband that I love, and he's a collector. And one of the ways that I found to motivate him is, I said, I am a professional organizer and I love you dearly, but I feel like I'm not getting anywhere with you. And I think that we both live in this space. We love a lot of beautiful things, but sometimes we have to let go, because if you want new beautiful things or old beautiful things to come into this house, we've got to find a space for it. We don't have enough room on our walls. I mean, you can see back here, there's a lovely old advertisement that we have that he picked up years ago. So it really is about meeting them where they are. And sometimes you're not going to get anywhere. You're just not. And you have to say to yourself, okay, how much do I love this person, and how much is it worth it to fight? No. I mean, I think we love our spouses, and we have to figure out what works for both of us.
Right. Okay, here's another one. What do you advise when there are emotional attachments to things which have value, but your kids don't want them, and which you hate to get rid of, but can't find a place for them in your future? In other words, how do you begin to part with these types of things?
One thing I do is I visit that item. In other words, I spend a little time with it. I touch it. I enjoy it. And then I say to myself, I think nobody wants this in my family. I'm ready to let it go. And it's hard, and it may take time. I keep saying this. It's not something that you just say, okay, that's it, I'm done. No, it takes time to let go. And so I suggest that maybe what you do, which I mentioned earlier, is take pictures of the things you love, and then say to yourself, it's valuable. It might bring some money in, so I can go out to some nice dinners, because now we can go out again, and approach it that way. And then find out from, if it's an auction, if it's a painting or a piece of pottery that's beautiful and worth quite a bit, you still have it because it's in your computer and phone, but you're ready now to let it go.
Good suggestions. What about vintage beautiful clothing? Are there vintage clothing stores anymore? I know there used to be, but a number of them closed.
There are a whole bunch of resale shops. I mean, Housing Works does it. There are some resale shops I know on the east side. I'm not sure, in Manhattan anyway. I'm not sure if they're open in terms of, I know Housing Works is, they allow a certain number of people in at a time. Again, I would suggest going online and looking at vintage clothing, and look at Pinterest, look at Etsy. Etsy has a lot of vintage stuff, and see what some of the items are worth or what people are asking. And then you can make a determination as to how to move ahead.
And one last question, how to determine the possible value of artwork that you have?
That, I would say, the best thing to do is to go to an auction gallery. There are also art.com, there's First Dibs. There are a whole bunch of sites that you can contact and send them a picture, and they'll give you some idea of whether they're interested in putting it on or not, and then how do you sell it. But I would start with like auction galleries first, because they would give you an idea of value. I had a Yankees baseball that was signed by Mickey Mantle and Moose Scarron and Elston Howard and Yogi Berra, and I went to Swan, and they said to me, "Oh, it's a team ball." And I said, "What do you mean it's a team ball?" Well, it wasn't really signed by them. As they kind of had a stamp that they put on, and that's what they did. So it's worth about $300. So, I said, okay, I can sell it for $300, because I was a rabid, crazy Yankee fan in 8th grade. And then I kind of let them go. But so again, there's a way of finding out what the value is, and that was what I suggest.
So I guess,
also, excuse me, I'm sorry. There's
no,
also
go ahead.
some people that list themselves as evaluators or appraisers, and they can be called in to look at the art to see what they think the art is worth as well.
So I guess that's the same answer to this last question which just came in. How does one sell sterling, fine bone china, or things like Lalique? So I guess
yeah, it's basically the same kind of thing. There are different, I'm looking here for some of the other places that, because I have a list, but it's basically going to places that have appraisers who can get an idea of what you're selling, what you want to sell, and that's the way to do it. Safe
Great.
way to do it.
Well, thank you so much.
I wouldn't recommend Craigslist for that. You don't want anybody in your house. You don't want anybody there that you don't know.
Someone just put in the chat, replacements.com buys china crystal.
Yes, they buy some china. Yes, that's true.
Right. Well, thank you so much, Nancy. It was a wonderful presentation, and I know people really appreciated the tips that you gave, and you have your contact information right down here on the slide if anyone is interested in contacting Nancy for some help. And you made it sound all doable, which is
it is. It really is, Sandy. It is, because in a sense, letting go is also a labor of love, and helping people let go is a labor of love. And that's how I got into this business and why I love it, and I'm still doing it. Well,
that's wonderful. Thank you so much. And remember that we are recording this session, so if you missed anything, you'll be able to get a link to the YouTube video and then watch it at your leisure. And decluttering, we can do it.
Yes. Thank you, TTN. Appreciate your coming to visit with us today.
Wonderful. Thank you again.